So this is a new drama directed by J.A. Bayona, who previously did Jurassic World and The Impossible. Major Hollywood director, and it's done a little bit smaller film. This is based on the book by Pablo Vierci and is about the story of the. And I used to get this detail wrong constantly. I kept saying it was a Chilean soccer team, a rugby team from Uruguay that crashed in the Andes mountains October 1972 and survived kind of miraculously for 2 months in the snow. They had to survive incredible hardships, weather, starvation, uh, disease, and a lot of them did not survive, but 15, 16 of them did survive for 2 months and just about walked out of the mountains. And this story has been made into film and other series multiple times. It was last made in 1994's Alive, which starred none other than Ethan Hawke, which is a great depiction of this. In this version, we have an all Spanish cast, so it's in the original language of the people involved. The story is the team is flying from Montevideo to Santiago. Uh, During the flight, the pilot makes an error, clips a mountain, and the plane goes careening down very close to the Chilean side, but still up in the mountains. Of the 45 passengers on board, 15 are immediately killed in the initial crash. A lot are injured after the plane touches down. Uh, from there, they have to then try and survive the extreme cold, soon starvation. They send rescue teams, but they're just not able to see them because you have a white plane in the White Mountains, and planes fly super high, so they can't really look very clearly. And it's this incredible survival story that's got some really intense moments we'll get into. But that's our basic layout. Zach, what do you think?
Well, Society of the Snow is cool, man. Like Society of the Snow is pretty bold for Netflix. Like I know they produce a lot of films every year, but for what it's worth, like 2.5 hour foreign language feature on the front page like doesn't happen often, and I think a lot of people overlook it for that, right? Like I think they see it, they don't think a lot of Society of the Snow. That's what I'm looking for. Um, I'm glad we're talking about it here. Like, I'm glad we have the opportunity to spend a little time platforming it because I think it's really neat. I think J.O. Bayona has done something kind of tremendous here. And I didn't expect it. Like, I was in the same boat when I started. I was like, whoa, okay, this looks a little long. Subject matter looks tough. Boy, I don't know if I'm going to be in this the whole way. And I can tell you, like, miraculously, you are. I don't know how. I like on paper, you tell me what the story is. You say what time period you want to cover. Oh, the crash, and then half the people don't make it, and then oh they're gonna land, and then they're gonna be down there for what I didn't know when I started the movie was an inordinate amount of time. I wasn't even sure if they were gonna make it out. So to me, not knowing the story, not having seen Alive, like just going in like anybody else on Netflix, like yeah, okay, I heard something about this, I'll check it out. I can tell you that like I think it was a good experience. That being said, it's harrowing, man. It looks so cold on that mountain. I don't know who did the coloring for this film. Oh my god, it looks cold. I know it caught an Oscar nom for like hair and makeup because these guys are just slowly getting more frostbitten. Like it looks so miserable up there. And like that's movie magic. Even if it's the kind that's kind of ugly and you don't want to look at cuz it's scary and real and it's like, "Oh no." Like it's truly like the magic of cinema that like this can be presented in this way that feels so convincing. And, like Society of the Snow is really neat, and like I really liked it, and I'm glad we watched it. If anything, I wish I could have watched it in a theater. Boy, it probably would have looked
Yeah,
great on the big
absolutely.
screen. Mm.
Yeah, it would have been tough to sit through in a theater, honestly. One of the infamous parts of this story is the plane crash because it's the rare time where a plane crashed and a lot of people survived, so they could talk about it. But briefly, there was a pilot error where he thought he was flying over the mountains at a little bit where there was a lower spot, but he had misnavigated, and there was cloud cover they couldn't really see. At the last minute, they realized they're too close, but they end up clipping the mountains. It shears off the tail. People fly out of the plane. The wings get sheared off. The fuselage kind of lands, doesn't crash, but it lands on in the giant of this big like glacier bowl and slides down this mountain at 200 miles an hour and eventually slams into a snowbank, throwing everyone in the plane forward. It's so harrowing, and it's amazing to think anyone could survive these things, but people did. But that was just the beginning of hardships because a lot of people were severely injured, broken legs, broken bones, crushed to death or crushed half to death. There is no food. There is the mountains get negative 22 at night, but they work hard together to try and stabilize the injured. They find ways to make themselves wars. They build up like a big wall in the fuselage to keep the snow out. And they just like these scenes are harrowing. Like that happens 15 minutes in. Like that's the catalyst of the whole thing. So it throws you right in. There's a couple of other like there's a couple of avalanches they have to deal with that to me those were the worst scenes because it's very claustrophobic. You can't breathe. Like they're snowed in the plane. People are struggling to get out. It's just it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable that anyone survived like a fraction of what they went through.
Right. Like on paper, it reads like a bottle script, right? Like you've got your core cast, they're in one location, they're not going to leave. That's pretty much what we've got, right? Like for the most of your script, your characters are in this valley, in this plane fuselage, doing their thing. Doesn't sound that complicated. Like wrong. Like J.A. Bayona directed The Impossible, right? In 2012, that covered the Indian Ocean tsunami and the fallout of that through the eyes of this family, played by Naomi Watts and Ewan McGregor and a couple of kiddos. One of which I think went on to do something big.
Tom Holland.
Tom Holland, yeah, right, yeah, he was in that movie, yeah. So he's got experience doing this, and like one of the things that makes Society of the Snow work is that it's so remarkably grounded. Like, not only does it look cold on that mountain, like it genuinely looks like this is shot outside with no studio shots ever. Like the illusion is never broken that you're like on a set filming with these guys. Like it just looks miserable out there all the time. And then things start to happen to the set, right? Like Andy said, then an avalanche rolls in and then you have a drastic reorganization of how things are working and where we're shooting. At night, there is no light. We are down to nothing, right? Like as resources are dwindling, like we have to show the plane and the people getting more torn up in it. And the amount of time that this goes over like is wild. It is bananas. And Andy and I were talking about just for the show. I'm like, I don't know if I would want to go through it, right? You'd be like, God, just give me a way out, you know? Like, it's so rough. And it ends up being this story of like human resilience, but at the same time, like quite the journey of struggle from A to B to C to get to the end of the feature. And like it's really well crafted. Like it's really well put together. Like not only in its presentation but in smaller sequences. Have we talked about the crash? We got to talk about the crash, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, I talked about the crash a lot, but what were you going to say about it?
I was going to say this crash scene is incredible. Like it is a truly incredible kinetic crash scene where you're and like through the sequence of the plane crash, you have movement following movement across the frame as the camera is bouncing around like to what these guys are doing. Like it is really, really well directed. And like otherwise, looking at Bayona's background, like I wouldn't have thought much. He did Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. Didn't really love that movie. I wasn't alone. I got a 6.1 on IMDb. All right, give me a break. Like I wouldn't have thought he would be turning out something that feels so special on Netflix of all places, right? Like normally Netflix is a little bit their 7-year film chief is leaving because it's not working out. Like somehow like a spark in the rubble, right? Like something special here. Society of the Snow, I think, is unique.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a really harrowing feature. One of the things I wanted to talk about is so they had no food, and one of the infamous things about this story is that they eventually resorted to having to consume the dead, otherwise known as cannibalism, to survive. And this is a huge kind of philosophical struggle in the movie. No one wants to do it at first because they're like, no, that's terrible. We're desecrating the dead. We're going to go to hell. And eventually, just starvation takes over, and they're no animals. There's no vegetation. There's nothing to eat. They have a few rations from the plane that last just a few days, and so there's a big philosophical battle to like, what do we do? And who do we eat and how to, and it's really incredible because that they what they end up doing is two people volunteer to kind of butcher the bodies to provide the meat, but that way other people don't have to see it done or see who they're eating. It's a huge, like, part of the thing, and it was a big almost scandal when that was revealed that that was part of how they had survived. But that's they wouldn't have survived the 2 months they were up there without that. And I remember reading that the two people who eventually were able to climb out and go get help were like they weighed like 100 pounds by the time they got out of there. It's just incredible.
Yeah, like it really is like million to one shot that it happened, and then to follow that up, anybody made it, much less a group of them. Yeah, it's really committed to realism, even in its presentation of its actors and actresses. Like there's comparison photos you can find online between who they cast and the original like photos of people, and like they even look close. They have family and friends like work directly with the cast to get as much of it like as uniquely accurate as possible, which is really specific and interesting. Like it doesn't often happen with features like this. Normally it's like, ginned up for Hollywood. No, this is kind of the opposite. It's stripped down for Hollywood. Like it's simplified, and it's tough and it's challenging, but it also ends up being like, I don't know, really inspiring. Like overall, like a really cool feature that I'm really glad we got to spend time with. And like I said, like it's one that I feel like I would have just blown by. I wouldn't have paid too much attention to. Like I'm glad I took the time with. Andy, you ready for recommendations?
I am.
Andy, would you recommend Society of the Snow?
Yeah, absolutely. It's an incredible movie. It's an incredible story of these people that survived and were able to just band together, work together, battle against all odds, and survive this incredible situation. A lot of them did not. Only a third of the people on the plane survived the entire ordeal. It's it's a sad thing to see. More survived the initial crash, but then there were so many between food and injuries and the elements. It was just really difficult, but incredibly harrowing feature. Like I said, it's in Spanish, all Spanish cast. Really enjoyed it. Highly
Yeah,
recommend.
same for me. Would recommend. Like I said, the content's a little weird going in. I get it, but like just in the first like 20 minutes, the movie puts you on rails and won't let go. Like I think you should give it a shot. I know it's tough, but like so is watching Titanic, right? And like there's still something redeemable and tremendous about that, even though you know that like there's gonna be some troubles along the way. Like I think it's a good time. I really do. Society of the Snow's rad. I'm looking forward to what J.A. Bayona does next. Hopefully it's not another Jurassic World feature. Andy, what are we watching next week?
So we're on break next week because I'm traveling, but we'll be back on February 13th with Argyle. We'll finally find out who the real Agent
Oh
Argyle
God.
is, and that's February 2nd. And then Lisa Frankenstein, which is the new Frankenstein musical starring Catherine Newton. That comes out February 9th. And also, we'll be looking forward to some other releases in February, namely Madam Web, which comes out February 14th, just in time for Valentine's Day. And if you're interested in the Bob Marley biopic, Bob Marley, One Love, that's also coming out on February 14th.
If you enjoyed what we're doing on Off Script here on the show today, if you like our news segments, or you liked our Anyone But You review, or you were maybe middling on Trailer Park, or have hot takes on Society of the Snow, any and all of the above, the best way to get a hold of us is to write into the show at mail@offscriptfilmreview.com. Email direct. I know it's easy to comment on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, and you can do that too. We'll probably take a look at it. You can even leave a comment over on YouTube. Big things happening on the Offscript YouTube channel. I say it every week. There's big things happening every week. I don't know what to tell you. You got to go check it out. And of course, you can find the show anywhere you find your audio podcasts. You may have been listening to us right now there. iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, iHeartMedia. We're everywhere. And we're excited to be talking about movies. Episode 250 is coming up. Going to be big things for episode 250. And Andy and I got irons in the fire. All right. It's going to be fantastic. So keep an ear out for that. And look forward to our Argyle review in a couple weeks. I personally can't wait to find out who Agent Argyle is, Andy. I don't know about you. It can't be the cat. Surely it can't be the cat. Everybody will be sitting in
I'm going to
theaters
scream
thinking,
if it's the cat.
if it's, I hope, if it's the cab, we just both need to stand up together and walk out in unison, middle of the film. That'll be our review. It was the cat. That'll be it. And of course, one more plug. You can find our website, offscriptfilmreview.com, for all things Offscript Film Review, resources, links, interviews, trailers, stuff, whatever we got going on. That's where it'll be. So from all of us at Offscript, the home of Bold Cinema, I'm Zach Lewis.
And I'm Dr. Draper.
Thanks for watching.